So I picked "The World Keeps Ending and the World Goes On" as my poem for the March Madness project. I picked this poem because this poem's connect. Fuck. So I picked "The World Keeps Ending and the World Goes On," written by Franny Chow Choi. For the Final Four Poetry Project. Connections. And the world keeps ending and the world goes on. I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong. I'm gonna say Choi. Franny Choi explores the effects the apocalypse creates on humanity, revealing the true fear in modern day lives with endless war. Franny Choi uses imagery when she creates a vision of the world which is truly ending when she says, "I was born from the apocalypse." This creates a much bigger impact to the modern generation as it creates illusions understood by the audience. Franny Choi understands by using the themes of destruction and humanity to reveal the real state the world has become. So the connections that I really tie back to would be illusion and imagery, and talking about the destruction and humanity that we actually live in now. How in modern day we actually do have endless war, like the things we see in Pakistan, and just everything happening right now. We cannot tell. So I feel like it has a greater effect because we can all somewhat relate to this. Even if you are from an older generation, like the millennials or anything, you can still tie back to this because war truly has never ended in our era. Personal significance. I feel that the poem has a much more impactful meaning due to it being able to connect better with the modern generation who had actually been born into war. As I said in the previous slide, that even no matter like what generation you've been born in, it doesn't tie to one specifically, but anyone can really relate to this. I'm saying for Gen Z, specifically the people in our class, because we did argue about this, how we feel tied to it because of the things that are actually happening in our modern day. We know, and a lot of the poems that we've read doesn't really tie back to that, like I'm going to say in this next sentence. Many of the subjects in the poems are casted away or turned a blind eye to, but I feel like it really brings awareness to the life giving us. Oh, well, I think I spelled that wrong. Many of the subjects in the poems casted away or turned a blind eye to. You know what, bro? Many of the subjects the poems casted away or turned a blind eye to, and I feel like it really brings awareness to life, giving us the lives in these generations. Despite all other poems we've really read, we keep sending. Okay, bro. I feel that the poem has a much more impactful meaning due to it being able to connect with the modern generation who had actually been born into war. Many of the subjects in this poem are casted away or turned a blind eye to, but I feel like this poem really brings awareness in the life that we truly live in as a wake up call. Despite all other poems we have read, "The World Keeps Ending" really brings into detail the reality we live in rather than the fantasy where we have to take action and take action now. It brings into the light the truth rather than the fantasy the other poems have shared, such as, I'm not gonna say anyone, but shoulders. Shoulders. Um, as said before, the poem goes into detail about humanity and true destruction it causes amongst itself. And when I say that, I mean that the world is killing itself. Notice how none of the wars are really man versus nature. It's always been man versus man. We were born into war, and these apocalypses have been created because man versus man. Similarly, for destruction, as those two themes for this poem go hand in hand to humanity destructing itself and slowly killing itself with these apocalypse. So as I previously mentioned, it doesn't really need to be any specific generation. Any generation, any person, any people were born into war. There hasn't been a single time period where the world was truly peaceful, and I feel like this poem really, like, says that. This poem really, like, states that, like, she was born into this apocalypse, and these apocalypses never end. These apocalypses keep happening. This apocalypse of the dogs, this apocalypse of this. It all ties back to the real world, and I feel that that has a much bigger connection than a lot of the other poems we've read. And personally, that's why I picked this poem for personal significance, because I've always been really big into military history. So this, like, I know about it, and I know I could tie back to it no matter what, because we do really live in a world of apocalypse, even if it's not like apocalyptic fallout how we expect it to be. Maybe one day it'll be, but how we expect it to be, we do really live in a world of war, as we can see around our world. If you just go on the internet or search up what's happening, you can see. So that is my PowerPoint. Okay, thank you. Sorry for sharing this in late.